welcome to Gamer Weekly with Total Mage. This week in the news, I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, Sony being the party that's holding up cross-platform play with Fortnite. Fortnite going on to be the #1 played video game available on the market. Phil Spencer from Xbox referencing that hardware sales will continue to be a hardcore component to video game industry for quite some time. The IOC's absolutely moronic response to bringing esports into the Olympics in 2024 in Paris. And then lastly, our cosplay corner, we have Phoenix Fatalist out of Kiev, Russia. Jumping right in for our #1 story, Fortnite is soon posed to become the most played video game in the market. Currently there's a beta going on with the iOS. We're going to see the Android beta coming very, very soon. Initial gameplay looks like this is going to go really, really well for Fortnite. And it's interesting because there's never been a platform created in which console, PC, and mobile users can readily compete with one another on a fair playing field. And it doesn't necessarily look like that is where Epic has gotten so far, but it looks like they're definitely moving in that direction. Which, if that were the case, this will probably be the most profitable video game of all time. One of the most profitable video games of all time was Clash of Clans, and that was solidly in the mobile platform. So to see this game now move into every single platform available and every single platform playing against one another on the same playing field, it's pretty awesome to see. Keep you posted on that. In our second story, Phil Spencer points to streaming being the future of gaming, but consoles are going to remain an integral part of this. Microsoft Gaming really is looking to move more in a streaming direction, but Phil Spencer very adamantly has pointed out in some recent tweets that we understand that this isn't going away, which is really odd to hear coming out of Microsoft. We all know that Microsoft and Sony and Steam, well, Steam has, but Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, and a lot of game makers want to move to a subscription-based service where you're not actually buying a game, where you're just renting the game, or not even renting, you're just streaming the game from them. And the moment you stop paying the stream fee, you're no longer playing the game. So it's interesting to see that, you know, the head of one of the largest video game companies in the world right now is saying we are going to continue to have hardware for quite some time. Is not something that you would expect to hear come out in the news. Moving on to our third story, which is quite interesting. In a recent tweet, and we're going to go to the same person, of a fan of Fortnite to Phil Spencer, he says, "We would really like to see Fortnite as a cross-platform operation." To which Phil Spencer replied, "Me too." And then Epic Games replies, "We three." Microsoft is actually pointing to Sony being the one that continues to hold up these types of cross-platform opportunities. Sony has demonstrated in the past that they're more than willing to work with Nintendo and other makers to have cross-platform games, even if that's not their game. And this is something that Sony seems to be lagging in. In a recent article published by Kotaku magazine, a Microsoft representative is quoted as saying, "Microsoft has long been a leading voice in encouraging the adoption of cross-platform play and the potential of connecting players across PC, mobile, and all consoles." A Microsoft representative said in an email to Kotaku today, when asked to elaborate, "We've worked closely with Nintendo to allow cross-network play between Xbox One and Switch, and our offer to do the same with PlayStation players still holds. For any other questions regarding Fortnite cross-network play between Xbox and PlayStation, please reach out to Epic or Sony directly." Very interesting, because Epic has said that this is what they want, Microsoft has said that this is what they want, and Sony has said nothing. So I get that Sony would like Microsoft to go away. I get that Sony is competing with Microsoft, but this type of behavior from Sony, while it has some short-term benefits, very, very few, it has massive long-term implications that aren't good for the market, and they're not good for Sony. So just knock it off, pull your head out of the sand, Sony, and please, can we have Fortnite cross-platform? In our cosplay corner this week, we have Phoenix Fatalist from Kiev, Russia. The daughter of a lawyer and journalist, Phoenix went on to college and then law school after completing high school. She had a passion for cosplay and has been cosplaying since she was 15. Her family felt that she would not be able to make a real career out of it. So when she finished law school, she went to sell her costumes thinking that this was the close in that chapter of her life. When she went to sell her cosplay costumes, the demand for her work was so high that she went into the business of costume creation and opened a studio in Russia called FD Studio. She now earns more as a professional cosplayer, designer, and actress than she would have ever earned as a lawyer. Absolutely amazing cosplay. Links for this artist are in the description below. Please take a moment to check out. Go to Facebook, like, and subscribe to her channel. In other news, our first free major DLC for Monster Hunters will release on March 22nd. Link in the description below for the article to explain all of the new items that are being added to the game and tweaks that are happening to existing things in the game. We had a new Sea of Thieves trailer, and there is a Kraken. There's a Kraken. And then lastly, in the short news, we see our first tangible news of a Splinter Cell game in a year and a half. Links for all three of those stories in the description below. Just want to say thank you for stopping by. Thanks for watching this video. Please take a moment to like, subscribe to the channel. As always, we appreciate your support. In our last bit of news, we have some controversy that is beginning to brew with the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and I don't think that this is going to be the last that we're going to hear of this, and I think that there's a specific agenda behind this, which I don't really appreciate. I'm going to say right now that I don't necessarily think that esports should be something that is included in the Olympics, but if it is included in the Olympics, I don't think that what the IOC is asking is at all reasonable. So some of the games that they're saying that they don't want because of violence are Call of Duty. Okay, fine, I get it. Maybe that's a valid point, maybe it's not. They go on to say that they don't want Dota 2 or StarCraft. Now, if this is the actual position that the IOC is taking on these games being violent, then the IOC has some really, really deep digging to do. Because at this point then, we need to actually look at the games that are being played in the Olympics. If that's a valid argument that the IOC is making, that these games are too violent, that Dota 2 is too violent of a game, then we probably need to get rid of shooting as an Olympic sport. We need to get rid of, what else? Archery, javelin throwing. We need to get rid of taekwondo, judo, all forms of wrestling, fencing, anything that has to do with violence. And there's a lot of sports in the Olympics that are demonstrations of violence. Then we need to remove those. And if the IOC is not willing to, then I think we really need to look into maybe making the IOC be on cable, or maybe they need to be streamed on a specific service that doesn't allow young, impressionable minds to watch their incredibly grotesque and graphically violent sports. And that's where I'm going to leave it today, with just some dumbassery by the IOC. And yeah, I hope you have an awesome week, and until next time.